Good morning, good evening, good day. Welcome to Global E-commerce Experts, and welcome to another webinar in a series that we've been doing this fall and winter. Really excited today. There's been a lot of talk from within our own clients and from within our own prospects surrounding new social media opportunities through TikTok. So today we're delighted to welcome Remy Beaumont from Gen Z Media, who is a true guru of a success on TikTok. Welcome, Remy. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks.
So in the last few months in particular, we've really seen from our clients that are selling in the UK in particular, we've seen a huge amount of interest in some of the success stories that have happened to online sellers using TikTok as a platform. From a US perspective, of course, this is really new. So for a lot of sellers, this will be a pretty novel thing to get involved with. So really excited to hear how you go about doing it and the businesses that you've grown to some pretty meteoric success that I'm sure you'll tell us about in some of the slides. So please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how we can take some success from TikTok marketing.
Sure. So I am Remy. I'm the founder and CEO of Gen Z Media. We've been going for around 3 years now as a TikTok first social media influencer and social commerce agency. So social commerce is a super exciting thing. I've got some super exciting stats to share with everybody. And I'm sure that this is going to be the start of an amazing journey for everybody here.
Well, thanks. I mean, it really is. There's lots of things, lots of webinars that we do that get into the kind of nitty gritty of, supplying goods overseas, or the nitty gritty of expansion in various different ways. This is possibly one of the single most exciting phenomena in social media has happened certainly in the last few years, for sure, from a commercial perspective, because some of the success stories have been pretty incredible. In fact, arguably unbelievable, but I'm sure you'll tell us that they really are believable.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen brands, obviously the theme of this webinar being the TikTok overnight success strategy. And we've seen so many brands having absolutely unbelievable success genuinely overnight. And we've seen businesses go from, sub 100K turnover to well into the millions in literally a matter of a few days from the sort of discoverability that they've had on TikTok, the virality that's been created. And then, as I'm going to explain a little bit more later, why TikTok is such a great platform for e-commerce sellers and how the whole experience is frictionless for the user, resulting in some crazy case studies.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, the TikTok shop's been around in the UK now for 2 years or so.
Just over 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. So gradually, the software API connections to allow the ongoing supply and fulfillment of those is beginning to catch up, because this really was truly pioneering in terms of the way that goes about doing it. Let's perhaps launch into what that looks like, and give some stats on how TikTok can work.
Yeah, so I mean, TikTok Shop really, first and foremost, should not really be compared to Instagram or Facebook here. It should really be compared to, Amazon or eBay. Obviously, as the platforms developed and, more sort of third-party integrations have become available, it's made it even more accessible for any sort of seller to literally plug into their existing software, whether it be Shopify, whether it be, I'm pretty sure you can actually attach it to Amazon to simplify your sort of processes there. But we've seen, more and more analytics, logistics, tracking all sorts of things are now really being built around it. And I think it's really akin to being one of the first sort of sellers on Amazon. This is essentially the next generation of Amazon, whether it be the sort of people you're selling to or the way that you're selling. But fundamentally, the sort of back end is very easy to use, very familiar. And, overall, pretty much every brand that we've seen come on board has succeeded on the platform. So we're still very much ahead of the curve with what we're doing, and it's only going to get really sort of bigger and better from here.
I think the most exciting part of this is the difference in demographics of the types of sellers, the types of products which are being successful. So I'm sure we'll learn about that a little bit later on in some of the slides that you've created, because this really presents a new opportunity. Now, when we're talking to sellers who are expanding internationally, for instance, and we talk to them about going omni-channel, okay, you've got to be selling on Amazon, you've got to be selling on eBay, you've got to be selling on Cdiscount, you've got to be, so this is about going multi-channel. But ostensibly, these are the same products, the same people on different channels. What's exciting about TikTok, and I'm sure you'll explain to us in more detail, is this is ostensibly a new demographic of people that might not be trading on those platforms. But they might be, but we are getting to a different place. So I'm busting to have a look at the slides. Let's get started and see how this works and see how we can become overnight success stories.
Amazing. Let's jump straight into it. So, as I said, we founded in 2021. Since then, we've worked with over 10,000 creators to deliver over 500 successful campaigns. And in turn, this year alone, we've generated 10 million of revenue through TikTok Shop for our clients. So with this slide, I really wanted to just sort of set the scene here about what the future of e-com looks like. And that is with a super insane statistic, that is that by 2030, the expectation of the global social commerce market will generate total annual revenues of 6.2 trillion. So, we are, like I said, really ahead of the curve with what we're doing. Obviously, it's been around in the UK for a couple of years now, just launched in the US a couple of months back. And I think, TikTok Shop is undeniably the primary sort of gateway and facilitator of social commerce, especially in the Western markets. So this is what the media have to say about it. So various publications have reported about how TikTok is dangerously good at making you spend money. So what I think we really want to dive into here is how, as business owners and as brands, how do we actually capitalize on this? So first of all, let's just have a quick run through of the agenda. So we'll run through the importance of TikTok Shop in your brand strategy, especially with your expansion. We'll dive into some case studies and look at some overnight success stories. We'll look at the key strategies of what these brands have in common and why they've succeeded. We'll look behind the scenes and dive into really what is involved in the back end and on the sort of day-to-day maintenance. We'll dive into some of the challenges and pitfalls and things to look for. Then we've mapped out the roadmap to success, and then we'll round it all up with some key takeaways. So first of all, understanding what TikTok Shop is. So TikTok Shop's a brand new marketplace, just like Amazon, just like eBay, and it allows brands to showcase and sell products directly on the platform. It happens in a closed loop environment. So users discover those products and check out all in app. So this means no redirecting to any other platforms, completely different to, Instagram's shop that they kind of abandoned. It all happens in a seamless, frictionless experience for the user with just 3 taps from discovering a product to checking out. So that means that our conversion rates are much, much higher. And therefore, for brands like you guys, your sales will be much higher. A large element of TikTok Shop relies on leveraging creators and affiliates, and TikTok Shop makes it really easy to collaborate with these creators en masse to really boost your brand throughout the entire sort of marketing funnel. So why should you care about TikTok Shop? Well, the numbers really sort of speak for themselves here. TikTok's a platform with 1.1 billion monthly active users that are generating $2.5 billion in consumer spend. The hashtag TikTok made me buy it is proving to be insanely influential, as it's had 82 billion views. And, when you think about the number of people that's hit, on a repeated basis, it really goes to show that, you know, people are being influenced from TikTok, and this is essentially where today's word of mouth is happening at, you know, an unprecedented scale. So 83% of users say that TikTok plays a role in their purchase decisions. 71% of users made an unplanned purchase because of TikTok, which, you know, just goes to show the sort of frictionless experience and the sort of impulsiveness of the platform really, you know, delivers. 79% of users discovered new brands on TikTok. So, you know, it's not just about having a name anymore. A lot of brands that succeed on TikTok Shop are sort of known as the TikTok Shop brands. They might not have brick and mortar stores, they might not be established brands, but all it takes is one viral video to completely change where your business is and where it's going. 54% of users bought from a new brand after seeing it on TikTok. So, you know, just echoes that previous point, really. The next stat, I think, is one that really does shock people, because a lot of people are still under the impression that TikTok is just a kids dancing app. And, you know, that could not be further from the truth. 67% of TikTok users are over 25. So obviously, looking at where, you know, disposable income is and, you know, consumer spending power, we're now actually targeting these sort of, you know, older demographics that do have that higher spending power. There is a little bit of a theory or a joke, I'm not sure if it's true or not, but a lot of people's theory is that basically all these kids downloaded TikTok, then all their parents downloaded TikTok to see what their kids were up to, and then they ended up getting hooked. But the fastest growing category on TikTok right now is actually people aged over 45. Of everybody that has TikTok installed on their phone and is classed as a monthly active user, the average user spends 94 minutes a day on TikTok. So bearing in mind, some people might go on TikTok once for literally, you know, 5 minutes in a month period. You know, the number of people that are spending hours upon hours upon hours on TikTok per day means that it counterbalances to 94 minutes per user, which is, you know, pretty crazy. And for us, it really presents an opportunity to be getting in front of these people and, you know, playing on TikTok's, you know, unique algorithm, its, you know, discoverability, and ultimately converting these people into customers. So TikTok Shop offers 4 ways to shop. These were videos, unfortunately, they're not playing, but the first one is live streams. So it's been very, very popular and extremely successful in the Asian market for quite a long time now. TikTok are now looking to replicate the success of live stream shopping in the UK and US. There have been live streams that have just been, you know, 2-3 hours long that have generated over 100,000 in GMV. The second content type, which is actually the most common content type, is short videos. So that is essentially a TikTok like any other TikTok, but the product is tagged in the video. So, you know, we're seeing crazy numbers from short videos, you know, upwards of 80 to 100K per short video on the top performing ones. The third way is the product showcase. So on your brand's TikTok account, if you swipe along, there'll be a little basket. And if users click on that basket, they'll be able to see all of the products that you have on your TikTok shop. And the final way has actually just been added quite recently, and that is the shop tab. So no matter what screen TikTok users are on, they will have this little shop button next to the upload button. And that essentially is a more scrollable, sort of discoverable feed where other products will be on there, but it will be very much curated around the user's sort of viewing habits. So the TikTok algorithm, compared to any other social media algorithm, is much more switched on to people's genuine interests. And that's exactly how they make the app so sticky, because TikTok knows what you want to watch before you know you want to watch it. This is exactly what's now happening with the shop tab. They know what you want to buy before you know you want to buy it. So diving into a success story, probably the biggest success story that the UK has seen, is a brand called Made by Mitchell, which is a cosmetics brand. They joined TikTok Shop in March 2023, so not even been on the platform for a year, and they've already generated £30 million in revenue, 2 million of which was just in 1 week. So the brand with this blush went absolutely crazy. Well, you can see from the number of affiliates that have activated to promote these guys' products. 17,000 affiliates have created content around this brand. Some
Was
of
that
them
linked
would have
with
done.
was that linked with affiliate with an influencer as well, or was that done by their own store?
So some of it would have been done through their own store, so through the product showcase, through their own content, and through the shop tab. And then, as well as the content that they've produced, 17,000 influencers slash affiliates slash content creators have also made content around the brand. So, in just 9 months, they've done 2.3 million orders through the app. And I mean, nobody has I mean for a brand relatively unknown before, this is a real success story, to have 2 million in 1 week. Another huge success story is Nature Spell. So they joined in October 2022, and in 12 months they increased their revenue by 3,500%. So their revenue was around 300k before they joined TikTok Shop. We actually were one of the first to work with them. We had a super viral set of videos by a particular creator who was telling a story around how she genuinely suffered with hair loss. So she started using Nature Spell Rosemary hair oil, and she was sort of showcasing her weekly sort of transformation, as it were. So they have now done 11 million in revenue in just 1 year. So it's completely converted their business from the sort of level that they were performing at to where they're at now. Just hit 1 million orders, and 20,000 different affiliates have decided to jump on this as well. And I think what's really interesting with Nature Spell is that because of the internet's natural sort of negative tendencies, when a lot of people saw our creators' content, they almost thought it was too good to be true. So what they did is they bought the product, and then they started showcasing their own sort of journey and transformation. And what it actually ended up doing was creating this whole organic machine where people were viewing this content, they were buying it, and then they were showing their own experience with the product as well. And the brands that really nail TikTok Shop are the brands that can have that virality, but continue that virality in an organic manner. The third success story here is a bit of a curveball, because not many people would look at toilet paper and think that that was a particularly TikTokable product. But actually, you couldn't be any more wrong, because they've sold over 14 million rolls of Splash toilet paper on TikTok Shop in the UK. So they've generated over £6 million revenue from 306,000 orders. And they've done this in about a year and a half. So this product actually took off, and it was sort of a whole TikTok trend was created around this product, because people were buying these multi-packs. It was actually a whole case, not just 12 rolls. So people thought it was extremely hilarious to be ordering massive amounts of toilet paper from TikTok Shop. And in turn, this whole TikTok trend was created of people ordering it themselves, and then showing everybody that they ordered it, which might seem strange. It is a bit strange, but I'm sure that Splash is not complaining. Cool. So, what have these brands done right? Well, first of all, their products all have had the potential for virality. They've all got something about them that means that you can create content around them, no matter whether it's a beauty creator, using the lip blush, whether it's general lifestyle creators, whether it's comedy creators. They're all, products with the potential to go viral. They all also solve a problem. So, yes, we're relying on impulse, but top line, every product should be solving a problem for the user. They're also very TikTokable products, showcasing a transformation, like with the Nature Spell Rosemary Hair Oil, for example, is the perfect way to really tap into that authenticity and relatability aspect of TikTok. And this is where TikTok is so different to Instagram. Instagram is the highlights reel showing off the best bits. TikTok is really about how you can be as authentic and relatable as possible. And a way to sort of look at it is that Instagram is sort of what the brand looks like, and TikTok is sort of the brand's personality. What's the brand like at the weekend, sort of thing. So the content that these brands have both all created, you know, there's a lot of different routes that you can go down, but top line, people love a story. They've all told a story around their product, and they've incorporated educational key messaging into this story. A lot of the content has also been discount led. So, for example, Splash toilet paper, was massively discounted, and that was essentially the key message of that product. Um, and a lot of them have followed the sort of trends, if not creating trends. For example, the Made by Mitchell product became a massive trend of people unboxing, showing it, showing how they would, apply it, etc. And then that generates a fear of missing out within the sort of rest of the TikTok community. And that's how, we create this organic machine of virality. They've all massively played into the impulse factor of TikTok. They've had a discounted pricing strategy. There's a few different ways that this can be done. We see it get done with, bundles. We see flash sales. TikTok with certain brands, especially if you complete their sort of challenges that they set, will actually also offer users discount codes when they come to buy your products. So really leveraging all that TikTok has to offer is super, super key there. And then of course, having things as a limited time offer, having these discounted, these discounts set for a limited time, or having limited stock quantities, limited edition products, this is what really drives that impulse. All of these brands have also leveraged affiliates as the primary aspect of their strategy. And what they've done is they've mass gifted affiliates in return for content that the affiliates are either posting on their account, being reposted by the brand account, or they're being used as user generated content for the brand's paid ads.
So before you go on any further, can we just talk a little bit about how you define potential for virality, and also
Yeah,
what exactly you mean by TikTokable? I'm sure that's in
sure.
the diary, that's in the dictionary already, but for someone who's already selling online, how can they gauge the feasibility of what that looks like?
Yeah. So the potential for virality is really a product having, some form of interesting thing about it. Can somebody top line tell a story about it that somebody else is going to watch and they're going to think, I want to get my hands on that? You know, the way that TikTok works essentially is when a video is first posted, the algorithm will show that content to a small group of your followers or people that have engaged with content similar to yours. It will then judge what percent of the video those users have watched to determine whether your content is basically good or not. If it determines that it's not good content, you will be placed in the 300 view graveyard. If it determines that it is good content, it will essentially keep showing your content to bigger and bigger groups of users, performing the same sort of test. So the TikTokable aspect really is, can a creator get this product, create a piece of content that will fit into a current trend, whether it be a TikTok trend, whether it be a consumer trend, whether it be, a seasonal trend, for example. How can this product fit into what's going on, not only on the platform, but as far as general consumer trends as well.
Interesting. Okay, so I think for most people, that's going to be the new skill. They've probably got some still photos. They're probably selling on a website, maybe got a Shopify store. They've probably got some video content, but this is bespoke content that needs to be created for each product.
Yeah, absolutely. And TikTok is not a case of getting a bunch of high quality videos of your product and telling all your audience all the benefits of your product and why they've got to buy it right now. And people just scroll past that within a second. The official number of what someone's attention span is now is 7 seconds, but that is not true at all. You've got 1 second on TikTok to get somebody's attention. And if you haven't got a really strong hook at the start of that video, if you're not keeping people's interest peaked throughout the video by changing something on the screen every few seconds, and if you're not finishing off with a really strong call to action, that content isn't going to go anywhere. There's 3 really sort of key components of a video. The hook, it can be anything that's going to get people's attention. We see a lot of success with negative hooks. So I'm never going to buy whatever again, right? Which throughout the sort of video, it transpires that actually it's because of a positive thing, which obviously then you have your call to action to drive those users to actually go and purchase the product at the end. But the negativity aspect of a hook always sticks and gets that retention.
Interesting. Okay, that's very cool. Let's move on.
Cool. So behind the scenes, what really is going on? So first of all, brands need to get their actual TikTok account set up. They then, before ever posting anything, and this is a little bit of a secret I'm giving away here, you should use TikTok for a few weeks, even if you're just sort of scrolling on the side, but whatever niche your product's in. So, say you're a nutrition brand, you should be going through watching a bunch of content, not only in nutrition, but related things. So let's say gym content, for example, because what we're doing here is really giving the algorithm a handshake and saying, this is the sort of person that we're interested in. Because what that means is when we start posting on TikTok, straight away, the algorithm is already going to know who we want to be showing our content to. And we're going to skip that whole risk, essentially, of ending up in that 300 view graveyard, because that's when TikTok basically can't figure out who your ideal sort of viewer is. So by telling TikTok who our ideal viewer is and training the algorithm, we completely skip that step. Then registering for TikTok Shop. It's a pretty simple process to do. You just have to upload your sort of certificate of incorporation. If you're in sort of nutrition or FMCG, food and beverage, there is a little bit more to it, just uploading your sort of certification, but otherwise super straightforward. Brands should then be concentrating on what their content strategy is going to be. So what sort of content are you going to be posting on your account? Is it going to be educational content? Is it going to be entertaining content? Is it going to be user-generated content? Really nail down. But what I would say at this point is really test. you won't probably get it right first time. It really is a case of trial and improvement, seeing what's resonating with the audience and then doing more of that. Then obviously diving into the actual content creation and then setting up your live store. So this can be done in a bunch of different ways. Some people choose to have, pretty overkill setups. Some people literally live stream from home. It really does depend on the sort of, aesthetic and size of the brand. With live shops, what we do see a lot of success with is, both ends of the spectrum essentially. So really, really small brands where they're, it's like the business owner basically picking and packing the orders themselves, and people coming into the comments saying, "Oh, pack my order 367." And then we also see a lot of success with the big brands that have really established themselves on the platform. But for the majority of brands, short form content should be what they're concentrating on. The affiliate strategy then comes into it, and this is where you'll see the, essentially spike in your sales. So that involves outreaching and activating these affiliates. There is ways that you can do it through TikTok's seller center on the back end, and there is also options to work with agencies like Gen Z to assist with this. Paid spend is another sort of route. They've just released video shopping ads in the UK recently. I'm not sure if they've released it in the US yet, but they are definitely in the works. And this essentially allows you to have ads running on TikTok where the users can purchase directly through those ads. We say boosting of affiliate content because we definitely recommend using Spark ads. And Spark ads essentially boost the influencer's content or the creator's content, and it will say their name on the piece of content as opposed to the brand's name. And the reason why that's important is because where on TikTok you can just scroll straight through an ad, we're just trying to retain engagement, retain viewership for as long as possible. So the longer that you can keep somebody watching the ad and the more authentic it seems, the better that ad will perform. The lower your CPM will be, the higher your click-through rate will be, the higher your conversion rate will be.
And Remy, in terms of setup, presumably the seller needs to be VAT registered? Do they need to have a company incorporation in the country they're selling?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. So if you're selling in the UK, you need to have a UK company. If you're selling in the US, you need to have a US company. That's all for tax reasons. And then being VAT registered, subject to turnover, is definitely something that brands need to look at as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So obviously, with any good things come challenges and pitfalls. Nothing too serious, but TikTok is strict. Brands must be posting content consistently. They must dispatch all orders within 4 working days. They must reply to all customer service messages within 24 hours. They must ensure that they have adequate levels of inventory, be proactive, not reactive, and very importantly, not be making any false or medical related statements about their products. If you breach any of these, TikTok will penalize you. So if you're not posting consistently, the algorithm will reduce the amount of engagement that you're getting. This will result in a lack of product or brand traction. So, if you're going to post once a day, keep posting once a day. If you're going to post 3 times a day, keep posting 3 times a day. If you're going to post once a week, keep posting once a week. It's just about that consistency. And we do get quite often asked if brands can essentially jump straight to the affiliate aspect without having content on their own account. The answer to that is yes. However, most people, before purchasing a product, especially from a new brand, will first click through to your brand's account. And the way you have to think of it is that your brand's account is essentially your website within TikTok. That is what people are using to check out that you're essentially who you say you are, that you're reputable, that you're trustworthy, and it's the perfect opportunity for you to also, show essentially your authority within your vertical. Um, TikTok provide great support compared to any other platform that we've worked with and that our clients have worked with. However, if you are breaching any of the previously mentioned things, they will potentially limit your support. And the number one thing that we are trying to avoid here is getting a low store rating. So if you're not dispatching those orders within those 4 working days, and if you're not replying to customer service messages within 24 hours, TikTok will penalize you by giving you a lower store rating. If you have a low store rating, anything under 3.5 out of 5 is classed as critical, then they can limit the amount of traffic that your content or the affiliate's content is getting. So you won't be getting that push. And they can also limit the number of orders that you can receive on a daily basis. So obviously, brands can be the victim of their own success here if they haven't properly planned out what they're trying to do. If they haven't, set an inventory level that's correct, and they get a massive spike of orders and they can't actually keep up with those orders, then they do run a risk of then having the number of orders that they're allowed to accept each day limited. In the worst case scenario, TikTok can deactivate temporarily or permanently your store. However, this happens in very, very few cases. Normally, you can have your one-on-one support with somebody from TikTok, and really work on a plan of how you can improve your store's rating before it gets to that. But ultimately, it's a case of it being sensible essentially with your resources, knowing what's realistic, and not biting off more than you can chew, really.
But I guess it's difficult for people to know whether they are biting off more than they can chew because that virality may well take over.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing that I would say is setting the inventory that you've got to a realistic amount of, what that you can dispatch. Obviously, if you work with a reputable 3PL partner like you guys, then that should never be a problem. But the biggest issue that we see or have seen is when brands basically don't put an inventory, or they have stock on other channels or other marketplaces, which they're not able to move between different marketplaces. So, the danger of that, if you've got all of your, stock sitting in an Amazon warehouse and you can't move it across, that's when you're going to end up probably in a bit of a sticky situation. But if you say that you've got, 10,000 units and you sell up to 10,000 units, TikTok won't penalize you for selling out. And of course, that quite often plays a large part of brands marketing strategies as well. So just ensuring that you've got the stock that you say you've got and you've got access to that stock is really the key thing here.
I think for Amazon sellers in particular, that technique will be a little bit alien because, of course, on Amazon, the last thing you ever want to do is stock out. So you're constantly replenishing your stock. Whereas, actually, although it's a pitfall that you might sell through, what you're saying here is that that doesn't matter as long as you've inventoried properly in the first place.
Yeah. As long as it's all, as long as you can dispatch every order that you say you can dispatch, you won't have a problem. Um, yeah.
And have these most of these success stories that you've been talking about here, the really incredible ones, have they been supplied through 3PLs or are these businesses doing that themselves? I mean, I can't even fathom the logistics of a business going to 1.1 million orders in a year, or just there's all the supply and purchasing of those, and the supply chain piece. How are those people working?
So yeah, I mean, I think initially they were definitely dispatching orders internally, and then when they started coming through, they started working with 3PLs. TikTok obviously have FBT now, which some brands look at. However, there's definitely pros and cons to that. I think for brands generally trying to approach, this with an omni-channel sort of mindset, a 3PL partner is going to be your best bet, where that stock can then be dispatched and delivered no matter where that orders come from. That's where the flexibility really comes from, I think.
And is the algorithm very specific to the UK? So we're talking about UK TikTok shop here. I'm assuming that wouldn't be the case if the person watching was in the US.
Yeah, so they'll be able to, so people in the US can watch content from the UK, but the product won't be tagged. So you can't actually purchase, cross border. You can still view the content, but you can't purchase.
And currently, what countries can you? Where is there a shop currently?
So UK, US, Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore, China are the key ones. I think. I don't think I've missed any. But yeah, obviously TikTok, has been doing what they're doing in the Asian market for a few years now. In the Western world, the UK was essentially the pilot for the US launch that's just happened. And then they are also going to be launching into Spain, France, Germany, Italy, etc. In rumored 2024.
Well, that's interesting because a lot of our clients are European sellers. So at the moment, the opportunity for them lies in creating their TikTok account in the UK and fulfilling from the 3PL here in the UK, and likewise for our American sellers. But you mentioned when we were talking earlier that you needed to have a TikTok shop, a TikTok account in each country. Is there ways of gaining recognizable content from other stores? If you had an American store, replicating that store in the UK, or are they completely independent?
So, because of the nature of TikTok Shop currently, they have to be run as completely individual accounts. You can use the same content across both accounts, but that content needs to ideally be uploaded from the country in which you're trying to target. So, there are tools that can help you do this to essentially schedule that content. But it's more to do with just the logistics of the store. TikTok UK and TikTok US on the back end work in slightly different ways, and they have TikTok UK now has servers in Europe. TikTok US has Project Texas, so they've just moved, or currently in the process of moving, all of their data off servers in Singapore into the US. So they basically ring fenced it in the US. So it's impenetrable. So it just creates that division and means that, unfortunately, not the end of the world, but you have to post the content twice, basically.
Well, I'm sure that, as they're different stores, as they are with Amazon, that won't be unusual for sellers to need to do that.
Yeah, and there's pros to it as well. You might want to be charging different price in different markets and be tapping into different consumer trends in different markets anyway. So you wouldn't necessarily want it to be one store where it's the same price, no matter if you're in the UK or the US.
And let's talk briefly about fees that TikTok charge for selling via the shop. Are they more than Amazon? Are they less?
So TikTok takes a 5% fee. However, for the first 90 days, this is actually only 1.8%. So it's quite competitive in the general sort of landscape against, Amazon, or, once you've taken your Shopify fees and then your Stripe fees and then, etc. It is, fairly competitive.
Okay, well that is an exciting part because fees for most sellers are only ever increasing. What about the kind of price points which work well? Is there a particular ceiling to what people are able to sell successfully?
Yeah, I mean, the UK and the US have shown us very different numbers. In the UK market, the sort of perfect sort of price point that we've seen is products up to and around £30, because this is a high enough price point that if a creator is being paid, say, a 10% commission, it's enough to keep them interested, but it's also cheap enough for people to be able to purchase it impulsively. In the US, however, we've seen that upwards of $100, $150 people impulsively purchasing. And, I mean, Made by Mitchell is the number one TikTok shop brand in the UK. Beach Waver is the number one TikTok shop brand in the US. Beach Waver is essentially hair straighteners and hair curlers, all sorts of different products. And they're obviously at a much higher price point, $100, $150. So, there's obviously differences in consumer behavior, but for the UK, we definitely say around £30 is the perfect sort of price, up to and around.
Okay, well, I mean, from a pitfall perspective, as long as we can get our head around the logistics of how we're going to supply it, and you can create the content, what's next in terms of optimizing and getting your ratings up?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few different things that can play into it. A large part of it really is just making sure that you are able to respond to messages quickly. That is how you can bring your store rating back up, and then obviously delivering within that time frame. If we dive into how we can be getting more orders dispatched quickly, we want to look at what our sort of creator and affiliate strategy is going to look like. So this is essentially the marketing funnel. So we're starting off at the top with awareness. So obviously, completely dependent on budget. Some brands want to put a lot more spend towards awareness. Other brands, not so much. But in an ideal sort of blueprint, this is really what the creator strategy would look like. So building out an influencer / creator awareness campaign with paid ads behind it that's not pushing the product too hard. We don't want people to think it's overly salesy and just swipe past. We want to drive people to your account with your content to really spike their interest. If they've clicked through from an influencer's piece of content onto your brand's account, they've come because they're interested. They want to check you out. And like I said earlier, this is really your opportunity to assert your authority, your knowledge, and showcase how great your products are. Obviously, then users can convert straight through your account, but you will find that the majority of conversions come from the affiliate content at the bottom of the funnel. So this content we would then supplement with paid media to really push it to a new audience and as far as we can get it to go. So obviously, the more orders that we can create, whether you've got a store rating of 5, whether you've got a store rating of 1, ultimately we want to try and create as many orders as possible, no matter what your store rating is, because we need orders to be able to improve your store rating as well, even if they are limited on the number of orders that you can dispatch, you can accept, sorry. So really diving into what a sort of roadmap to success looks like. Every brand should really start off with market research and analyzing, especially what their competitors are doing. It's very sensible to also have an assessment of your resources at this point and decide if this is something that you'll be able to take on in-house, or whether it's something that you'll need to leverage external support in the form of a creator agency partner, a CAP, a TikTok shop partner, a TSP, or a customer service focused sort of agency. After this, you should really establish what your goals are from TikTok shop and develop your product and pricing strategy. So really picking a hero product. A lot of stores only have one sort of product. A lot of stores have, hundreds of SKUs, but picking what your hero product is and deciding on what the pricing strategy is going to be is really fundamental. A lot of brands are using TikTok Shop as a way to clear excess stock levels, for example, if they're having a rebrand, for example. So the pricing strategy could be that product is normally £50 on Amazon or on Shopify, and on TikTok Shop, it's going to be reduced to £20. The operational readiness is really, really key. Obviously, you've got 90 days to get that 1.8% TikTok commission. So you really want to hit the ground running with this. And you really want to build out your sort of overall brand plan to make sure that your content is going to be consistent and your strategy is a fundamental part of this. So we would definitely recommend training and building a team around not only sort of creating the content, but also how to react to, particular messages. If there's frequently asked questions, for example, from customers on TikTok, through the TikTok messaging center, you want to have your team up to speed on how they not only respond to these messages, but what essentially your stock answers are from your frequently asked questions, just so you can reply straight away. So you want to start creating engaging content. So like I mentioned earlier, every piece of content should have a hook that's going to grab people's attention, keep them watching. It should have a story or be top line educational or entertaining to keep people watching. We're really aiming to have a high retention rate on the video. The way that TikTok makes money apart from this is through showing users ads. So as a brand creating content, the longer that you can keep somebody watching content on TikTok, the more TikTok's going to reward you by pushing your content to more and more people. So making that engaging content is really vital here. We would then recommend having a soft launch. So creating content in a few different styles, posting it and seeing how the audience reacts. Obviously, we're in the sort of mindset of continuous improvement. So we want to be optimizing throughout the process. The best way to optimize is to test. And active community engagement. So liking people's content, replying to people's comments, commenting on, say you're My Protein. You want to be commenting on fitness creators, gym creators content, because you want to be building that community around your brand. You'll then start off with your awareness activations. So starting to just build in not a salesy way at all, build that awareness. Who are you? What is your brand? What's the personality of your brand? And obviously the creators that you select at that stage will really feed into how the sort of brand is perceived and developed. You'll then activate your affiliates, and then you'll expand the reach of your affiliates by putting paid spend behind their content too. We are massively into our analytics and optimization, and something that is definitely worth mentioning is that everything, because it's closed loop, everything is trackable all from one dashboard. And this is something that, traditional affiliate marketing and even influencer marketing has really struggled with. A lot of the times these trackable UTM links, they're not tracking every click. There's discrepancies in the data from, what one dashboard will say to the other. Even having, discount codes, use Remy 10 for 10% off. These codes don't get used. If they do get used, it's normally because they've been put onto some discount code website where actually the user was probably going to purchase it whether they saw that discount code or not. So you're actually just losing revenue. Having TikTok Shop and having this closed loop environment just completely alleviates any of these issues. And, having that data in one dashboard that allows you to make these adjustments and then really optimize for, you know, maximum conversions or maximum return on ad spend, is really a game changer. And then finally, building that community, continuing to build on that community, adapting to any changes, whether it be in the algorithm, whether it be in, you know, consumer behavior. You know, that's really important. You just get left behind otherwise. And as part of that should be your plan for sustainable growth. As I mentioned earlier, there are agencies like Gen Z Media that can provide external support to facilitate not only sort of content production, but your affiliate partnerships. And this is really our expertise. We've worked with over 10,000 creators. We've worked on over 500 campaigns, facilitating this sort of growth for brands. We were one of the first TikTok Shop partners. So we really have been there throughout every stage of TikTok's journey. So bit of a shameless plug, but you'll get to a point on your TikTok Shop journey, whether you choose to work with a partner now or later on, where you are reliant on the expertise and resources. And then
Actually, Remy, it's just a good time to a really good question here from Lisa.
yeah,
Lisa's got a customer service team in the Philippines, and she's a US store. Is there any way of interacting without affecting the geographic algorithm?
yeah, absolutely. So there's actually a like back end web app. So it won't be a case of like having people sitting responding to DMs on a phone. It's all done through a customer service backend, which can be accessed from anywhere in the world.
Okay, and then that's great news, because that does mean that a lot of VA powered sellers will still be able to do that. And then another good
Yeah,
question is
absolutely.
the 5% fee across the board, or much like Amazon sellers, is there different varies and different amounts based on category?
No, so as far as I'm aware, it's 5% across the board. Um, they've also, yeah, they've said that there's, you know, currently no intention for this to increase. But yeah, you know, who knows what's going to happen in the future? But right now, I'm yeah, I'm sure it is 5% across the board. Yeah.
Um, well, here we go. Your shameless plug is working. Is Gen Z working with US customers?
Yeah, we are. So we've been in the US for around 3 months now, and yeah, the success we're seeing over there is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. It didn't take long for our US revenue to be competing strongly with our UK revenue. So yeah,
Rebecca,
we've got a
sounds like you need
dedicated
to reach
team.
out to Remy straight away.
Please
Well, look,
do.
let's talk about the key takeaways. Let's kind of summarize here what to do next and what the key pieces are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, to echo what I said earlier, you know, this is essentially the equivalent of being there at the start of Amazon. You know, Amazon is, if you're, you know, unaware, actually trying to copy TikTok now by trying to build a sort of shoppable entertainment platform. However, you know, ultimately, if you're going onto Amazon, you've already got intent to purchase. What we're doing here is we're entering people's entertainment space, just like, you know, I'll say back in the day, obviously TV advertising is still a big thing, but this is TV advertising, but on a much bigger scale at a absolute fraction of the price. So, you know, if you were one of the first Amazon sellers, I'm sure you'd be doing very well now. Obviously, a lot of you guys now have got this sort of infrastructure and the systems and processes of ecom in place in the back end. So there really is an unprecedented opportunity to capitalize on TikTok's unique discoverability and frictionless platform that is built. So I would really say that the key for brands here, just make sure you plan, make sure you're consistent, and make sure that what you're selling actually has a strong USP and you have a hero product, if you have multiple products, and having your doing your sort of competitor research to determine if your sort of independent like niche slash vertical is currently saturated is really, really important to know, how successful you'll be on TikTok Shop. Obviously, being ahead of the curve, you've got to embrace TikTok Shop now before everybody else jumps on this, because right now you've really got a strategic edge. We manage over 300 creators on an exclusive basis, and just from the brands that are approaching us, with the US creators compared to the UK creators, where the UK has been around for a couple of years now, they obviously get a lot more inbound requests from brands wanting to work with them. Whereas with the US right now, where there's fewer brands on there, they get, fewer brands reaching out. But that means that the brands that are reaching out are essentially getting direct priority access and treatment. So both in the UK and the US, it's still obviously a very new thing, but I would definitely say jump on this now.
I think that the lack of saturation is probably one of the most exciting pieces, isn't it? But especially from an Amazon seller's perspective, it's really refreshing that
Absolutely.
that there's new opportunity there.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, TikTok strategy in the UK and the US has been very, very different. In the US, they've gone straight for trying to get on straight to trying to get on these like key accounts and bigger brands. In the UK, they started with like a sort of cheaper price product strategy, but we're now seeing brands, big fashion brands like Zara, get on board, like PLT, Boohoo. So bigger and bigger brands are coming on the platform, which is just giving it more sort of not only exposure but more trust within the sort of community, really.
Remy, thank you so much. My voice is going as we're going
Thank
through the
you.
webinar here, but there's one more slide, I think, which is your very valid shameless plug. I think there's a massive opportunity here for sellers of the right product. If it's feasible, in a few weeks' time, we're going to be doing a webinar on affiliates and influencers, and how that could be engaged and levered into the situation as well. So I think tying these two bits together will be quite important. So stay tuned for the details of that one.
Absolutely.
I hope that if anyone is looked at this, wants to get in touch, some final key tips on this slide here, Remy, would be lovely.
Well, on this slide, yeah.
Yeah. Plug
Well,
yourself. This is your moment.
yeah, no. If you're interested at all in TikTok Shop, want to hear any more about it, please do get in touch with me. You can email me at remy@genz.co.uk. That's remy@genz.co.uk. You can visit our website, genz.co.uk. Hopefully that's quite an easy one to remember. And our services really do range right from sort of consultancy to facilitating the influencer and affiliate collaborations to content production. We've got our own in-house studio. We've got our own network of creators. We do the paid ad spend. We really can fit in and do as little or as much as we need you to do. So please do get in touch if you've got any more questions. I'm more than happy to help. I've been a massive advocate of TikTok Shop since it really launched over 2 years ago now. And we are one of a handful of TikTok Shop hyper agencies. So if there's anything that I can do to help anybody, I am here.
Well, just the nature that you're a hyper agency is a good place to be. So congratulations on your success on that front. Global E-commerce Experts is the logistics provider that sits behind a lot of these successes. Our order management system is connected already to TikTok Shop, so your orders and your successes are delivered directly into your 3PL. And we are well versed with seasonal and epidemic peaks in demand to fulfill sellers' needs. So if you are interested in getting started on TikTok, make sure you got the right partner behind them, and remember the people who brought you this show in the first place. So, Remy, thank you so much for your insight. Really
Thank you for
interesting,
having me.
breaking stuff, and for your thought leadership in general. I wish you all the best, and I hope that people watching get in touch, and they then get in touch with us to fulfill that success. So, in the meantime, if you're watching, stay in touch for our next webinar in the series. As I said, we'll do some content on influencers and levering, affiliate activity. Otherwise, for those of you who are celebrating the Christmas of the holidays, have a great time, and we'll see you on the next show. Thanks, Remy. Thanks for listening, and
Thank
thank
you.
you very much.
Cheers. Bye bye.